Um, we're doing the June HR CHP class, live education session. So what responsibility does the recruiter have to change that from a video standpoint? Or how about a resume? How about grammatical errors on a resume? Does a recruiter, what's the recruiter's responsibility from an HR standpoint? There is no wrong answer here. There's no right answer. Tell me what y'all think. What would you expect? Put yourself in my shoes and say, okay, I'm a recruiter and I get a resume and there's 3 or 4 obvious misspellings.
For a line level, for a manager, for
Yeah,
HR.
let's go at least, yeah, good point. Let's go at least manager level, probably up to manager director level. Clubhouse manager, F&B director, F&B manager. I'll give you server. I'll give you, right, kind of more of the line level. I'll give you some more, right? The low, I would say the more communication and presentation is involved, the more I value those mistakes,
Correct.
right? Again, if you're looking for a server, bartender, and every piece on everything on your resume was overseas, and then you just came here first job and you spell stuff wrong, whatever, right? You're probably still translating and that's fine. But this was a GM, so we'll pick GM level,
An older GM
older GM,
who should know what he's doing.
right?
Mm.
No, Michael, you're not touching it?
No.
Why
Hard
why did you interview him?
They wanted to.
That was, yeah.
They said, we want to interview this guy. We said, great.
Yeah, we didn't think he was of the caliber.
Enjoy.
Yeah, and they did, and so that's why we did it.
Oh, okay.
But when I get the resume in, when I get the first resume in and they make not brain, right? I get that all the time. BRAIN, and spell check doesn't get that. So I overlook that all the time. And again, I try to overlook FORE, right? If you're typing fast and you're typing a cover letter and you spell it FORE and it's supposed to be FOR, if the word you put down is acceptable by spell check, and it's the only mistake, do you leave it in or do you call the person and go, I'd ask you to take another look at your resume and correct any grammatical errors, or do you just change it, assuming they got it, they know it, or any other option?
Oof.
I would have them proofread it and see if they can find the errors.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I will give it the benefit of like, hey, do you want to double check your resume? Like, like
Yeah.
maybe there's need to be something to be updated. I mean, I'm not gonna call him out. Like I wouldn't. I'd just be like, hey, maybe just go around the bushes, I would say. Just be like, hey, do you need anything to be updated? Do you have all your dates right? Anything you might want to add or remove? Maybe just kind of hand it's like look at your resume and
Yeah. Or say, have a friend look at it.
yeah,
Right? You
yeah.
miss some spelling. Spell check might not have caught everything. Have a friend read it. Because I think you all know this. I know this. When you stare at a document long enough, it's hard to proof it. It's hard to edit it, right? You do this whenever you write menus. I know if you're a chef. I mean, how many times have you missed the date? Hey, Tariq.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, good.
You know, how many times have you missed the date on an event because it was last year's day? So it was Tuesday, June 25th, 2024, and now it's Tuesday, June 26th, 2025. Because we're like, yeah, first Saturday of the month. And so it goes in, but you forget it's the different, right? Is that right? Should that be overlooked? Probably so, right? We've all done that. So, but if you see egregious ones, same thing. I think it's the best to go back and say, y'all better look at it. But from a on-site one, I'm actually putting together a how to interview series, and Brett and I are going to work on that a little bit. And I thought Brett had said he had to leave early, but maybe oh, there he is. Okay, hopefully not that early. But same thing with an interview, right? Dressed up. I said this on the RSPA how to interview. Clothes that don't fit, fly unzipped, white socks, black shoes, black pants. I've seen it. And you're like, right? I do feel like I got to show them, the client, who the real person is. If I intervene too much, am I doing a disservice or am I doing them a favor? And they go, hey, we never knew this guy couldn't spell. Oh, yeah, I changed his resume around.
Yeah.
But I guess some of that is also, um, they need to do their own investigation, right? And checking into it, that type of thing. So,
The
all right,
consultant in me asks the question of, it kind of depends on who you're working for. If you're working for the club, then no, I don't think it's
good
that,
point.
that's not your role. If I'm hiring, if Gerardo's hiring for his club, he may say, you know what, I want to put the best foot forward because this is the second interview. I like this guy. So he's working for the club, but at the same time representing. You're working for the club. My view would be, you know what? I can't help you there. Now, if you want to hire me to review your resume, send me a check and let's talk.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've done that before where I've sent the person to Ashley and said, you need somebody to work this up. Get somebody professional to look at it and put it in the right order and the right colors and the right type and the font and all spacing and all that good stuff. So yeah. Yeah, it's just always a challenge I have. And I always have a challenge when I see the recruiter fixing it too much, right? Because then you're like, now I'm fixing up the candidate to look better to make the client hire them, even though that might be who they are.
Yeah.
Right. If you're going to be a GM of a club and you're going to do board meetings by Zoom and this is your Zoom shot. So
Maybe it was just short.
So if I go to meet him, I can say that you look a lot taller in person. Because I assumed you were this tall standing on your chair and couldn't be seen on the camera. All right, that's the laugh I needed there. Let's see if I can set this up. What did everybody think of this particular module? There was a lot of stuff in there. I wasn't too keen. HR is a tough one because of the legality, right? And so I don't want to be the one who tries to give you legal advice. At the same time, I see a lot of people. I don't think anybody here is in that position, but I see a lot of people that don't have the HR above them or they don't have access to HR. So they have to make the decision. So I try to give you as much legal guidance as possible without having somebody come in and say, well, you told me I could do this and HR said I couldn't, or you know what I mean? So I don't like it. I shouldn't say I don't like it. It's a tougher course just because of the legality piece of it. I want to be fair and accurate, but I also recognize that me going, oh, ask HR is not exactly is not real life to a lot of people out there. So I wanted everybody to be able to at least say kind of, all right, let's see if we can do this. So what did you all think of it? Not everybody at once.
Hey, Brian, I would say that HR is a challenge because it's always changing as well.
Yep.
I mean, let's be honest, the last 150 days has changed HR a substantial amount over, what we might have done 200 days ago.
Yeah.
So
100%.
I would invite us to keep very much in line with the concept is which way are the winds blowing in our world to know what we do with HR?
Yeah, I mean, so I'll ask four of you that are at clubs. Have you had any conversations with general manager, with leadership, with the members, with ownership, with HR regarding ICE? Does anybody have any, hey, here's the piece of paper they've given us. If ICE shows up at the door, here's what we're gonna do. Have y'all had that at Army Navy? No, nothing.
Not really. Actually, I just had a conversation with some people within the club about what just happened, like since some of the staff members were worried about like our name, it just attracts too much attention within themselves, like Army Navy, and what just happened, with the Middle East. The
Yeah.
first thing, like, I mean, I
You
don't
guys are
wanna
in a
say, like,
different, yeah.
yeah, their concern was, well, at least on my department in my club in Fairfax, they were not necessarily so much about like, because a lot of summer students, college students, so that kind of doesn't really go on their on the radar when it comes to ice, but it's more like, okay, so US just bombed Iran. Like we work in an Army Navy country club. There's one location next to the Pentagon. How close can that get? You know, like it just want the concerns were a little different.
Is the level of anxiety increased in general?
I mean, that happened during the weekend. And it got
Yeah, I
even
was gonna say it's 3 days old.
yeah. So a lot of the staff members were like, they were more concerned about like, you know, we as country clubs, and I'm only going to talk on behalf Army Navy, right? Especially of Fairfax. They were like, okay, that name is just, you know, other clubs might have, depends on what they where they are, might be like exposed to more protests, more like um I don't want to say, you know, consider clearly attacks, right? But I mean, there might be
Have you guys ramped up security?
At Fairfax, it's just more like is they're more vigilant, like more visible per
Yeah,
se. We
so
only had
more
two
awareness, more
incidents.
visibility.
There's
Yeah.
a third one like in the other side, on the golf course. Can I? I'm guessing Arlington might have since I was they're closer to the Pentagon for all I can think of. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. So you can also pass this on to your people. They probably already know this. The club up in Baltimore, Woodhome, not Woodmore in Rockville, but Woodhome up in Baltimore. They had a visit by ICE 2 weeks ago. ICE came in and raided their club. So keep an eye out. I don't know. I haven't heard. I was going to reach out to Kent Johnson up at Baltimore Country Club. He's the one who told me. I haven't had a chance to reach out. I'm sure he said he's letting all the club managers know in the area. So I don't, I would imagine your GMs know, but it's the first I've heard of a club. It's the first club I've heard of in the country. Doesn't mean it hasn't happened in LA or some bigger cities, but it's the first one here. So, and they picked Woodmore. And we don't know if they got anybody, didn't get anybody. I don't have any idea how it went out, but they should be. I would imagine most people in the senior leadership are aware of it and probably have a plan in place. I mean, look, I think you all know this, how hard it's, you know, I'm being recorded here, but it's extremely difficult to hire an illegal alien just because of all the social security matches and everything that you go through within a club's of
Background checks.
exactly. I mean, it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very difficult. But, you know, as you were saying, Gerardo, look, don't think that it's not all politics, right? And
Yeah.
clubs are a great lightning rod because it's nothing but a bunch of rich people. And so let's
Well,
go.
there's a lot of people. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's
Let's go
unfortunate.
make a point out of this particular location because we can flex our muscles. So anyway,
I think the other one is diversity, equity, and inclusion. Those
okay.
terms, I know that as a university, I don't know what the clubs are doing, but just looking at what you're writing on, hey, what are your requests? You know, you're looking for DEIB, any of those kinds of aspects, you might want to get rid of those terms because they're searchable. And so what we're doing at what they've done with K-State is we've taken out all the words that say diversity, equity, inclusion, or belonging. And we've replaced them with 4 other words that mean the exact same thing, but the government can't search those, and therefore we have to change. All of our stuff had to be changed. And I'm just an adjunct instructor. It just said that I believe in diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and try to encourage that in my classes.
Right.
And they said, we're not putting that in our information at any point in this time. So I invite you also to think about that from a club perspective. Where are those terms in there? Because again, universities are on a lightning rod, so they're checking all this stuff, and they got 1,001 people that'll check that. A private club, how long would it take you to scan your information to say, hey, is it say that someplace where we probably ought to be scanning it?
That's a great point. That's a great point. You're right, because universities are a lightning rod, and I think people believe the general consensus, or let me just say, I believed at least in the first term for President Trump that clubs would be slightly, they would have a better relationship with the government because he obviously makes a fair amount of his money from clubs. but it doesn't seem to be working that way. It didn't work that way then. It doesn't seem to be working that way now. So yeah, you might want to guard yourself and at least mention that if you have an HR, say, hey, listen, what are we doing with that? Does that need to be out there? Are we just drawing attention to ourselves? Again, Gerardo, Tariq, right? We are the Army Navy Club, and now we're going to talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Okay. Right? Somebody could see that as thumbing it in their face and take a stand on that and make a point, try to make a point out of that with your club, which I just did I just did my New York Metropolitan chapter. So it's the New York State chapter, the seasonal employees, they're calling it emerging leaders now. I just did that webinar yesterday. And that was part of what we were talking about a little bit is clubs want to stay out of the limelight, right? No, everybody says any press is good press. Not in the club world. Not in the club world. No press is good press. So yeah, you, the operators, should probably err a little bit on the conservative side, not politically, but make yourself less of a lightning rod. Anything you can do to make yourself less of a lightning rod might be the best way to go forward. So, all right. Any other thoughts on current day HR? I didn't think I should have put that in as like, let's talk about current HR challenges. I got a bunch on HR challenges in general, so there's gonna be a lot of feedback here because I think it's just a hard, it's a fluid situation. It's a hard topic to nail down. P&Ls are easy, right?
Yeah.
Expenses, gain loss. HR, it's all gray. It's all
I
gray
just think,
taken to court.
I think on my end, I think I do have I mean, obviously Tariq can vouch for me, I guess. I hope that, I mean, our HR team is pretty on top of like what it needs to do. Like not maybe last week or the week before, we got the use of AI for HR, like memo or how to use AI on, you know, certain things, polish our email that you feel like it might not have a flow of, correct flow, spelling checks, like use not to use what password should I use on my emails, right? It just so it's just one of those things. Like I feel like even our HR team is pretty good at, like, for example, I might say I need a houseman, but they will go and post as a house person. I just
Yep.
get a couple things like that would change. And
Yeah.
I'm like, in my old school working country clubs for a long time, I'm like, no, but I need a houseman, because I need to move tables. Like, no,
Yeah.
but as long as they can move it, who cares what they are? Like, well, yeah, that makes sense now.
Exactly.
It's just still on the when I was applying. Oh my god, that's like 11 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was on paper. They're like, oh yeah, we need a houseman, we need a housekeeper, we need a food runner, and most likely food runners are only guys.
Yep.
Now we
Yep.
see food runners, ladies running food run. I mean, times and change. So I think RHR is pretty good at just tweaking our way to not think, but just how we when I send a requisition, I'm like, okay, I need servers instead of say waiter, waitress,
Yeah.
servers.
Yeah.
Just
Right. But hostess,
hosted, yeah, yep,
right? Because what's a host? Do we have
yeah.
those? Right. But we have male hostesses, so I know what
Yep.
that is.
So
But I
it's
don't
one
know
of
what a
those
host
things.
is.
So it's about AI, but I think they're pretty good at keeping um just polishing our words, I guess, because we don't mean no harm. I guess, I mean, I can tell you that it just the old school mentality of, okay, I put a houseman person,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a holdover from a different time, like Brett just put in the chat, right? And when he was at the Greenbrier, they hired roll girls and busboys, right? So obviously the girls couldn't clear the table. The girls had to serve the bread and butter, and the boys had to clear the table.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't think Bev Cart guys make as much money as the Bev Cart girls either.
Great.
Oh no, Gerardo, your beverage cart guy makes a killing, right? Doesn't he?
I don't, it's just so sad because I don't have a beverage card.
Oh, you don't? Is he gone? Didn't you used to have some old guy that was
Boy, that was when I
or was that
started.
Springfield?
No, I started here and I had one guy who was do Sundays only beverage cart. And it only lasted for like so long because like it's too hot out here. And I'm like, well, yeah. What do you think?
I think, yeah, I think it was Springfield. They have like a 70-year-old
Oh,
guy,
I was
looks
fine.
like Jimmy Buffett when he was alive, obviously, but flip-flops, tank top, Springfield tank top, golf shirt. And he's the ugliest person, man or woman, I've ever seen in my life. And he runs around the golf course and he makes a ton of money because he's out there, right? But you're right. On a normal, like the stereotypical hiring from a general manager standpoint is we need a beverage cart girl. And yet there's a guy doing it, making a ton of money, and the members are happy because they get to drink. So
I was like a 20-year-old, just didn't know what to do.
yeah, yeah.
I used
And
to
it was too hot.
I used to do beverage card like 15 years ago. I used to make good money too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dude, that's good money. All right, so HR, I know Michael, you're ramping up your HR. You're turning your offsite HR into an onsite HR, which I think is going to help you. The comments you put back into the comment section here about holding the employees accountable, I think is going to get helped a lot when you have an on-site HR. Tell me what you're thinking there. Tell me your thoughts about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it because we've worked with Robin now, I think for about 4 years offsite. And now she's moving to the area, so she's gonna come on site. I think just having that presence and making it easier, just kind of like pop in the office and say, hey, what do you think about this? Instead of having, sit down, make sure I got a phone call, make sure it can be private, email, something like that. And just having that presence in-house, I think, with the employees will also help. Even for them just to have someplace to go, because it's a little more intimidating when they don't have a face to put with it, just a phone number and a voice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's gonna help us a lot. It's gonna help us keep track of, a lot of stuff that we've been trying to do with getting the handbook back to where we want it. And just making sure we're not missing some of the key things that I think we've been lacking a little bit on.
Yeah, I think, it's nice to hear Gerardo say that they're proactive in saying, this is our AI policy, as opposed to the team going to HR going, hey, what do we do? Right? It's nice for them to kind of take the lead. And I do think bigger clubs, I think do you know how many people are in your department, your team, or I guess Tariq would be the one to answer. Because you don't have a separate HR at Fairfax, right? You all
No,
operate.
it's based in Arlington. So
Yeah.
the one thing that we would say we lack here, Fairfax, will be the presence, like physical presence.
Yeah.
But they know where HR is.
Yeah.
And that's what something I put on the notes, that it's about the, how can I say this in a better way? It's like sometimes the lack of presence can create like a toxic environment.
Yeah.
Just because they think of like, it's like I'd rather be an open door manager, like someone that they can come and tell me what's going on, not necessarily like on a day to day, but just previously, or they see something happen. So Susu and my assistant and I kind of interact like HR, but and they know where to call, they know the emails, they know all that, but they just, the physical presence, like he said, now is better than to have someone a phone number and a voice. It's really good when they see a chart and they're like, oh, they care about us. Not
Yeah.
instead of
Yeah.
going to like the GM, AGM, or myself.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Hiram, describe your HR situation. Are
Yeah,
you
yeah. So yeah, we're definitely offsite.
okay?
The management group has about 6 clubs that is owned by one owner, and then there's a different owner that owns about another 6 club, but they're all 12 of them are managed by the same group. And
Okay.
so I believe before I got to this club, they used to be on site, and from what I hear, that was better in terms of the dynamic at this club, but no different on the other clubs. But I think since COVID, they were allowed to kind of work from home, and they went to like a 1 day on site, and then here in the last 6 months or so, it's all from home. I don't think it's a good situation. It's definitely kind of same thing that everybody's saying is, toxic environment. It kind of has a feeling like nobody cares, nobody really listens to us, and so it puts a little bit more on the department heads and the general manager just to kind of handle this internal issues. And then obviously communicating with HR on the phone, emails. Sometimes it feels like it's cut and dry when we come up with an issue for them. They obviously never want us to get rid of anybody. They want us to implement performance plans,
Yep.
improvement plans. And so I think it not having them in here definitely adds a little bit more on each department head, just because we're having to deal with that on a face-to-face scenario, you know.
Yeah. And the challenge, I think, there might be it's added to the list of other things you got to deal with.
Correct.
Right. That's the nice thing about having dedicated HR is they have a lot on their plate too, don't get me wrong, but it's nice for you all to be in a position to have that level of support versus I got to go through the first hour of this, and then if I can't fix it, it's got to go to them, and then I got to spend an hour catching them up with what's going on, and then right, and so the burden is on the local manager to spend extra time fixing it, and again, there's no more extra hours in the day, and the HR
Right.
not getting less.
Yeah, and also another thing, I know this is not part of the topic, but at my club we also do a lot of the accounting because our accounting department is also kind of following the same criteria where we may have just one person here,
Yep.
but when we have an offsite accounting team that manages all the accounting for all the clubs. So that puts a little bit more on all department heads as well, because then we got to do kind of like 80% of the accounting work, send it over to them, and then they'll finish it up. Where when I was at other clubs, I would, the directors were doing 10% of the work or
Right.
zero,
Yeah.
and then accounting was doing the rest.
Yeah. And did they ever give you a reason why the changes made for HR?
Uh, I brought it up a couple of times, and I was just kind of like, this is kind of not the way it's supposed to be done, just kind of throwing it out there.
Yeah.
And the answer is always like, this is the way we've done it for years. And, I think at the end of the day, they save money, it all is a for profit. So if they can, save, a few $1,000s each month, and obviously that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, exactly. So they put the burden on you all a little bit more, department heads, GMs of each facility,
Right.
and they get to consolidate their team, let them all work remote, probably pay them less, and get 99% of the work done that they were getting done before with less people. And so,
Correct.
yeah. And interesting, management companies, when they sell their services, it's, oh, we can provide better financials, better HR, because we've got 12 locations, right? We've got a HR team that can handle 12
Right.
locations. And yet the reality, when you look at it on a day-to-day basis, they're probably getting less than, say, Michael, that has at least right now one remote and soon to be one on site. So, and it's
Yeah.
interesting, his HR person lives, where does she live? Philadelphia.
Mhm.
And she's moving to Raleigh. So she was remote, and now she's going to go in-house, which is the exact opposite of what everybody else is doing. So
Yeah.
I bring that up just to say that it's not everybody's going more remote and more and cutting back on HR. How many people do you guys know, Tariq or Gerardo? How many people are in the HR department for Army Navy Country Club as a whole?
For here in Arlington, we have 1, 2, 3.
Three? Four?
Yeah.
Four.
With Katie.
She's a recruiter too, even though I
Wait,
don't
but Katie, they changed her position now, so, but she's the director, whatever.
And we have one in
So
New
three
York.
or four. Yeah. So right. So Hiram's got 0. Michael's going from 3/4 to 1. Right. Can't really call her a half because she probably did a lot of work, but it's 3/4 to 1, and you guys got 4. So I think that's the biggest piece. That's another big piece within the HR education module is some people have a little bit more of an uphill battle because there's less support. I don't know, Hiram, I would assume you have free access to them. You can call them anytime you want to.
Right.
Any question you have, they'll answer. Yeah, same with
Yeah,
you.
but we have zero on the on-site.
Right, but 0 on site.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
exactly.
and I like to add one more thing. It's
Yeah, go ahead.
also I guess one of the negatives with this is that there's clubs in different states, and so they do have kind of like a one size fits all mentality in terms of how they operate the HR, and it's not. I feel like I don't think it's the right mentality just because every club is very different from location to location. So, anyways, that's also a little frustrating.
Yeah, and I don't know if it gets down into the county level. I'm trying to think who puts out like student work permits, if it's the state or if it's the county. But anyway, that was always a hard one, is figuring out how to employ high school kids.
Right.
Some of them, it was no more than 4 hours a day. Some of them was no more than 20 hours a week, but you can do 10 hours in a day. Some of them, they had to be done by 6 p.m. or 8 p.m. or whatever. And so,
Right.
again, just organizing all that. This was a piece I talked about with the seasonal employee. If you're working with H2B and J1s, a lot of times they are specific to the job. If you hire them as a dining room
Yep.
manager, you can't give them a string trimmer and have them go out and string trim.
Right.
Different organizations show up and everybody goes to jail. And so there's so many legal ramifications that, we see it all the time with the seasonal employees. Me and my buddy were, my roommate, he's like, hey, you're off tomorrow and it's pouring rain, whatever. Oh, come help me there. Okay, yeah, I'll just help out, right? I'm just being a nice guy. And something happens or he gets hurt. And workers' comp are like, why is he doing that position? Shouldn't be in that position. Wasn't trained for that position. And it's a hot mess. And having it land on a department head or GM that already has a lot of other tasks in front of them are challenging. So the biggest thing I'll say about this is just CYA, cover your butt. Be aware of what you got, be aware of your resources, and be aware of what you don't got. Because nobody cares when it goes south. This is what you get. Well, nobody told me. Yes, we did. Here was a memo that went out. Well, I was told to do this. No, there was a subsequent memo that told you to do that. And you're like, and it's just
That's like when I was in the kitchen, I would try not to hire anyone under 18 because there was equipment they couldn't use.
Yep.
If you can't use all the equipment, then
you're just opening yourself up for challenges.
yeah. Now I got to hire another person just to use the slicer because you
Right.
can't.
So when slicer person calls out and this guy's or woman's standing there with nothing to do, hey, what you need, chef? Yeah, slice this up, takes a fingertip off, and here we go. The paperwork trail is massive.
I made that my own policy not to hire anybody under 18.
Yes.
Just
We've all been in restaurants where we order an alcoholic beverage from our server and another person brings it.
Mhm.
Not 21. Right. And we laugh and we go, okay, that's funny. Right. And they figured out how to do it, but that happens. It's the same thing. Right.
We hire under 18, but like 16 up, between 16 18. But most of them we put them only as a food runner or assistant or host or in the pool, running the pool. Yeah.
Oh, not literally in the pool. Just here, you go sit in the pool.
That'd be a great job.
Anybody
Can I get that
can
job?
work at the pool. Everybody's pool's up and going.
Oh yes.
Look at that. Look at the eye rolls. Look at the ay. Just
I'm
driving
working
back here.
coming in sooner.
100 degrees today. Jeez Louise.
Well, I learned quickly that I
yeah,
have to
go
make sure that I have at least one 18-year-old in the snack bar because there was a couple days where I just had to sit in there for 5 hours just to pour draft beer for them.
Yep. Now, some
Yeah.
places can do draft beer and wine at 18, but mixed drinks not until 21.
Yeah, they can do draft beer and wine at 18, but they can't do mixed drinks until
Right.
21.
So,
But we don't have any liquor in the snack bar, so.
or you don't, oh yeah, exactly. And I don't know. So, does anybody know what the rules are for these canned beverages, like the neutrals and the
RTDs
what's that?
for the RTDs.
Yeah, ready to drink. Yeah, is that considered liquor? So 21, or is that considered a canned alcoholic beverage 18?
There's liquor in it.
There is liquor there.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that because those are popular, at least on the golf course and
Yeah.
pools.
Yeah.
This good.
Our beverage here is 21 up.
Yeah, to serve, most places are 21 and up. To serve alcohol, you gotta be 21, and that's just a good rule of thumb. Even though some local laws might allow something at 18, but we've all been desperate on May 15th as we enter the pool season. and gone, okay, just call me if you're going to serve a mixed drink. And then it never works. But we try. We try with the best of them. Yeah, there's a lot of there's obviously a lot of conversation and requests for um universal laws, right, that help us out, but that doesn't seem to be where the geopolitical is going. It seems going to be more states will have more control. So let me pull up some of this slide deck here. Boom. Okay, so can you see these four lovely people?
Yes.
Learning outcomes. Okay, cool. So these are some of the things we wanted to do, right? Is I wanted to equip you with a basic understanding of HR and requirements, right? Focusing on training programs, enhancing them, and continue just kind of but putting yourself in a position of always be training, right? Every day, all day. We'll spend some time. I want to talk about lineup. I think it's a huge training opportunity that tends to go by the wayside at a lot of clubs. It ends up being oh shit, I forgot the chef. What are the specials? Oh, and we got Mr. Smith. Oh, and the ladies just sat and there's lineup, right? And you're like, okay, and we move on. And I think it can be a lot better. I also want to spend some time down here talking about how to help you all when you're interviewing, right? We can have another discussion, maybe not recorded, to help you interview, right? And the different things you could do to interview. But look, I think most of you are in the front lines of interviewing. And so are you doing it the best way possible, the most efficient way possible? Because it can be inefficient and it's extremely challenging to find good people and hire them. And a lot of times we end up being really desperate. I've done it. When can you start? This afternoon? Go get a uniform. We'll fill out the paperwork later. Then that's when you enjoy not having HR on site, right? When HR is on site and you do that, they don't get that happy about that. And then I want to talk about, again, a lot of this is going to be open discussion. I want to talk about how to retain and how to set up, and if you have any questions on training programs. Again, the test results, everybody seemed to do pretty well on it. It seemed like some people didn't get to the test, which is fine. It's okay. I'm still struggling trying to read the test, like the results. So anyway, I pulled out a couple of the particular questions that I thought would be a little more interesting for us to talk about. What are you doing to retain your staff? What are you doing to grow your staff? What are you doing to make sure your staff doesn't leave you? I know there's always a scenario within clubs where I feel like we train them. We take them off the street when they're nothing and we train them into fine dining servers and they go right down the street to the fine dining restaurant. That's our competition. And they make twice as much with tips. Um, and we trained them to be that way. And then they left us. So this was a good one. I think Brett put this one in here. His answer for some of this was ongoing training, CMAA and other growth opportunities. This was a big one. I talked to the younger emerging leaders yesterday. They were very adamant and very interested in educational opportunities as they grew. We talked a little bit yesterday and we'll talk again today. I know two of the three of you, and Hiram, you might be in the same situation. Your goals to be an employer of choice, right? I know North Hills is, and I know Army Navy is, right? And you have specific plans in place and you have a specific definition of employer of choice. We're going to pay competitive wages. We're going to offer, right? I mean, is anybody here mandating a 2-day off a week for your mid-level managers or any managers? Like, do you say, hey, yes, I guarantee you 2 days off a week in season, or 2 days a week off season, 1 day a week in season, or 2 days a week off, 2 days a week off in season, but not back to back? Does anybody have those as guidelines or goals or in writing somewhere?
I don't know if we have it in writing, but we do try to get all of our managers at least 2 days off a week. We're more of kind of, when you need to be here, especially with like the directors.
Okay.
So, when I was chef, if I had to be here 6 days, 7 days, I knew that I was here.
Right.
If I had a slow week and I took 3 days off, John wasn't calling me being like, where are you? Why are you taking 3 days off this week? And then we're also kind of very open with our vacation as far as our director staff.
Okay, because that's the follow-up to that is what, you know, everybody, you can say, hey, I work a lot. You know, holidays are always a big one, right? You're going to work on Memorial Day. So do you get another day off? Right? Okay,
Yeah.
we work on Monday, right? Gerard is saying, yes, you do. Yeah, yes, they do there. Michael's saying, no, you don't. I've had them where you get another day off, but it has to be used in that week, right? Which I always thought was just a pain in the ass because what follows Memorial Day? Member guest. What follows that? 4th of July. Swim meets, right? So, right, there are maybe even Monday golf tournaments, right? It's a lot of full service clubs. It starts last Monday in April, and it's probably a good 35, 45 days of 7 days a week operation. Doesn't mean you have to be there as a manager 7 days a week, but what is the policy and then what's the reality, right? We get this a lot with searches. Hey, we want you to lead off in the searches that we provide a great work-life balance. And the number one thing I always ask, show me. Well, no, we give everybody as much time off as they need. We had one, we won't name names actually, but we had one that countered an offer we had for a GM that said unlimited PTO.
Oh,
Exactly. And there's the clip we needed for the advertising right there. Actually.
yeah.
Who?
There is
Yeah, wow.
like here, we give 2 days off for all the managers, except we have like 3 or 4 people, they work hourly, and in the summertime when it's busy, they can work more. So we give them 6 days sometimes.
Okay. So it's their choice. So if I was a manager and I was, you know, I'll say good, not on probation or in trouble, I would expect to work 5 days a week, 2 days off a week in season, not necessarily back to back, but if I wanted to pick up more hours, I could.
Yeah.
See, I like that, right? I think that's pretty progressive. And so one of the things I want to talk about in here is as you become employer of choice, do you know the benefits that your employees find most desirable to work for you? And are you, and if those are the employees, like you take the 5 best employees and you say, why do you work here? And they all come back and I'm going to keep it real simple for me. And they all come back and say, what Tariq just said is, listen, I really love the expectation of 2 days off a week and working 5 days. And I love being able to pick up an extra shift if I want a little extra money. If that's their top benefit that they list, you should be promoting that, right? That's how you should go get new people. Because everybody on this screen, you all work at your club for an entirely different reason than other people who you hire to come work at your club. So some may overlap, right? Once you get to your assistants, people closest around you on the org chart are probably pretty similar, right? I know at 56, one of the top items in my mind is 401k, right? Probably you guys are not, you're all young, but probably someone who you just picked up out of school doesn't care. Right? But 2 days off a week, that might be something that moves the needle. So I think trying to figure out what is it that makes you employer of choice? What are your top benefits that your employees feel? And are you leveraging that in the interviews and in the marketing of the position? And you could do it the other ways. Look, what are some things that you really hate about this place? Right? And what if you heard, Michael, you guys are looking at a renovation, and what's your current employee break room now?
The loading dock.
Right, the loading dock. So to be an employer of choice, somebody there recognized that that's not the best. That's not putting our best foot forward. So in future renovation plans, the employee break room features pretty strongly, right? I mean, that's a pretty big, I mean, it's not bigger than the indoor tennis facility, but it was purposefully put into the renovation project, and it will be nice because that's something you all felt, leadership felt. You may have gotten input from employees, maybe not, but you felt that was a piece that was missing. So again, I think it helps you as mid managers to kind of understand when somebody comes back and goes, how come we can't get more servers? Right? Y'all should have a pretty good reason. Right. And nobody wants to work anymore is not a good reason anymore. Right. It's got to be something more along those lines. And if you've done competitive analysis, right? I mean, what's around the corner from you, Gerardo? Artie's. You get compared to it every day.
But
Great
I think
restaurant, local chain, but is that where you lose or gain a lot of servers?
actually it's a bit different with me, and I
Okay.
think it's just been doing a lot of different levels. This is something I'm doing to elevate my education portion of, in the food and beverage industry and the business industry. But I've done everything, every single level since I was like 17. Buzzer. I mean, you can name it all. The snack bar supervisor. I mean, I've done it all. And I can tell you one thing, and that's something I will carry forever. It's going to be I want to lead people. Like not the establishment. I love my team up to this point. If anything happens, is because I want to grow in the industry and go somewhere else, try become a director or whatnot. It's not necessarily my boss or my AGM, GM, whatever. It just I want to grow. That's kind of simply my scenario right now. If I ever decide to move from Fairfax or from Army Navy, just because I want to go into the next level. But I don't have, and it's silly me to say that nowadays how hard it is to keep staff members. I have people. I talk to them since the day one with the interview. I send in an email and I send them my interview invitation, but I give them a snapshot. The club is a non-tipping club. This is we work holidays and weekends and blah blah. If you're still interested, I'm more than happy to meet with you. They filter themselves. Uh, and after that, I meet with the person. I show them the tour, the clubhouse. I tell them the expectations. I tell them 5 shifts a week. Uh, I'm very reasonable with time off. First come, first serve. Weekends is automatic rejection. I'm very, very honest to them. And I have a very healthy staff roster right now of 21 servers, but they're all working 4 shifts a week. And they had the time to request off. Obviously, they even know that they say, Gerardo, Father's Day, I'm gonna be here, but I can work in the afternoon shift instead of the morning brunch. I'm like, all right, that works with me. So I'm very, very vocal in that sense. Like, hey, I send them reminders of blackout dates that we all need to be at work. Um, I told them what the rate is up front as soon as so I don't want them to say, "Oh, I love the environment, I love the culture, I love this," but I cannot do it for X amount of money.
Yep.
Okay, so I tell them this is the expectation, this is the rate. If you still want to move forward, I'm more than happy to meet with you. And up to this point, I already had people telling me, "Hey, Gerardo, save me my spot for next summer." And I'm like, okay,
Nice.
because it's about the culture. I tell the chef, "Hey, these people go back to their school and talk about our place. Do you want to be the guy that say, hey, I work with a great boss, but the chef is so and so and so. You don't want to be that guy because guess what? We represent. You might be one person, and I might be another person. But when they go out back to their school, they say Army Navy.
Yep.
They don't say Gerardo. They don't say chef. They don't say, Michael. They don't say names. They just say, oh, Army Navy. They treat me good. They give me
Yep.
food. I work enough hours to make money to come back to school, and I have enough time to go to do what I want.
There you go.
It's simple as that. I mean, I treat people with on. I tell them in an interview, your time. I respect your time. I value your time, but I respect my time as well, and I value my time as well.
Yeah.
Keep it short and sweet.
Yeah. I had trouble at, was it Fairfax? I think is it no, it was Bethesda Country Club, because we were flat rate for the server plus a tip, and there was different percentages. And anyway, it doesn't matter about that. But when we were interviewing, we're desperate for people. This is many years ago, but we're desperate for people. So I had a food and beverage director who was um, basically overselling the compensation. Oh, you'll make $30 an hour, right? And so within a couple of weeks, I figured out people are coming into my office. I was the clubhouse manager coming into my office and saying, hey, Bob said we were going to make $30 an hour. And I'm like, huh. And so I came up with a real simple spreadsheet. I obviously took the names of the employees off, but I left their tenure. I left how long they worked there. and I anonymized it, and I said, I want every interviewee and every candidate to see this. So don't tell me $30 an hour, because the top person was making 25 an hour, whatever the number was. But you could see all the different numbers. Never had a complaint after that. Right? If you want to be the best server here, you can make 25. If you want to be the worst one makes $12 an hour, because they work one shift and that's all they want, right? You get a lot of college kids who I can only work one shift. Okay. Hey, maybe it's a Sunday brunch. Sign that person up, right? Because nobody wants to work Sunday brunch. So again, that transparency, I think, is huge. Who else has any thoughts or ideas on kind of how to well, maybe I'll ask a different question. What's the one characteristic at your club that makes you an employer of choice? Hiram, we'll start with you.
I'm gonna pick the tennis pros, because I do have about 4 or 5 people that are wanting to work here. And I'm gonna say, just, they want to work here because of, we're real busy. We have a lot of activity, a lot of teams, juniors, a lot of lessons. But on top of that, we also have the indoor courts, and there's not a place in a probably 20-mile radius that has indoor courts. And so that's attractive to a lot of teaching professionals, because obviously they're having to teach outside, in the hot summers.
Yeah, so work with the best, but also work in a climate that allows you to teach 12 months a year.
Yeah.
Right. And so if I'm in that, yeah, and so then you're probably attracting, right? You're attracting someone who might be focused on money, right? And so I think we talked about this, Hiram, you talk at the predictive index, the high A, the person who's really wants the money. Okay, awesome. You're going to probably be able to get some of the better pros, because, yeah, if I'm in with this other group of pros, we're going to be seen as a high functioning team. And when it's, so you just heard us complaining about 100-degree heat, but it's the humidity, humidity, right? And so then I don't have to stand out on a court in 120-degree heat in June, July, and August to make money, right?
Right.
So now you've got the best of the best, right? Michael, what do you think would be one that you would say? I know so Michael's club is a rackets club. I don't know, Hiram, if you know where Michael is, North Hills. But
yeah, I know North Hills.
Yeah. So Michael is basically, North Hills is basically a full amenity country club minus the golf course. Everything,
Right.
Pool, rackets, pickleball, padel, food, all kinds of stuff. But it's also in a pretty big, you probably had more change at your club in the last couple of years than others, because you've been growing so quickly and adding amenities. But what do you think would be the one thing that you would expect to hear back from your employees as the best thing for working at North Hills?
I think it depends on which department
Yeah.
they're in, really.
True.
From the tennis side, it's going to be our facilities, our amenities that we have, and then what we're going to be getting in the next couple of years, hopefully. And then, the awards that we've gotten for our facilities and that kind of stuff. From the, front of the house side, it's definitely the, probably more of the monetary advantages that we can have.
The volume that you do that allows the
volume
monetary.
that we do, the starting hourly rate that we do for serving, which is outrageous compared to what the minimum wage for servers is.
Outrageously high, I'm assuming.
Yeah. On top of that, we have the 18% added gratuity no matter what. Plus our members are very generous with additional tips on top of that. Back of the house side, it can be between, if you're coming in, you want to learn volume, we can put you in the grill. If you're a young chef, if you want to do more of the fine dining, we have the 1961, so we have the finer restaurant. You've got close to 100 years worth of kitchen management in there. So it really depends on, I think we have a lot to offer different sides of it, depending on what you're looking for, which I think makes us a well-rounded employer for, someone who's an entry level to all the way to someone who's a professional.
What's the biggest drawback with doing the guaranteed gratuity?
Where do you want me to start? Is this still being recorded?
Laziness?
Yeah,
that's the hard part, right?
There's no accountability for bad service.
You got it.
Right. You
And so
can, you can give awful service and you know you're still getting
you're
18%.
still making a great hourly rate, and you're
But I'm gonna
guaranteed
hear back
18%.
about that, and then you're only gonna have 2 shifts next week, and then then you'll have one the following week until you want to start doing your job, which is what we never had in the front of the house managerial position.
Exactly. So whatever the strength is, there is a opposite blind spot or an opposite challenge, right? Um, and so that's the thing you got to watch out for when you advertise, hey, great pay, that's awesome. And once they recognize it's a guaranteed 18%, now you all as managers have to keep your eyes open to, all right,
Right.
good, Tariq.
And that's where I have to be very diligent in the interview process of who I'm actually
Exactly.
bringing in.
Exactly.
You know, some of the people that I inherited when I took this spot, you know, weren't the best, but
Yep.
there's a couple of them that weren't great, but they accepted the more structured environment of, hey, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it. You know, you're going to be held accountable for not doing things correctly, for not tucking your shirt in, not having your name tag,
Yep.
being on your cell phone instead of the front of the house. And I think like we had this talk when I was going into the position, some of them have loved it and thrived from it, and some of them didn't like it and they're no longer here.
And I think that's the challenge, right? You can see Gerardo a little further in that evolutionary process where he's clearing that out in hiring, right? Michael, you inherited a lot of that and you'll clean that out in hiring. Because that's exactly what you just said. Now hiring becomes crucial because if the wrong person gets in, now you got to work to get them out of there because they're not going to leave on their own, right? If it's all gratuity and it's all a bunch of high A people, going back to your rackets professionals, Hiram, right? They make more money. They got to get more court time. They got to get more people, right? So you almost let the herd select themselves and you don't have to worry about it. There's less management because the hungry ones will show up and eat more. Where Michael, your advantage, your employer of choice trait leads to complacency, right? And you haven't gotten to where Gerardo is, where he's trying to clean all that out at hiring and just let the good ones sit there. I think we've all been there where servers, to speak specifically about servers, right? The ones who like the structure and the money, those are the ones you want, right? And those are the ones that will step up when you change the rules, Michael, and go, no, we're now going to do it by the book, and here's how to do it. A certain percentage will go, I'm in, and another percentage, and then
And that's where we had one of our most famous restaurants that was here for 130 years shut down end of April.
a local restaurant, okay.
Local restaurant shut down. I'd eaten there a couple times and their service was absolutely immaculate. The servers were always on point. So about 2 weeks before they closed down, I went to dinner there and dropped about 40 business cards and a real fat tip. And then I ended up getting three of them, three of
Yeah.
the servers.
That's it, right? And let them build the culture, right? Because it's much easier, Gerardo, for you to keep that culture because you hired correctly. And everyone that once you turn the new employee over to the group, that group has that same mentality. So they either fit in or they walk. So it helps you a little bit with that, right? When they come back and go, bah, 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 or Susie's too mean, or this person took that, or for you, Hiram, this pros took too many lessons. Okay, well, did they sit and answer the phone, right? Do they have more availability on their calendar? Well, if they do, guess what? They're going to get more lessons. Don't like it, change the availability, right? I mean, there's only X number of courts times X number of hours. Do the math, right? And so it allows you all to operate at a little bit higher level where Michael, I think, is still kind of in that growth stage of getting to that level and fixing fixing inherited challenges, which we've all inherited. And the only way you get rid of those is time and a lot of paperwork. And a lot of paperwork. But yeah, I forget where I was. So let's go here. So I think, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Hunter. You have something? No. So yeah, I mean, again, I think figuring out kind of what your angle is, what your strength is, what draws people, what your culture is, right? Look, I did this in college. The culture it was all you can eat and all you can drink in the restaurant. That was what it was. I didn't care what the pay was because it didn't matter because I ate and drank my way through my employment, right? And that can be a brand, right? It's not the brand any of us want to be part of right now at this point in our careers, but that can be a brand. So once you figure out kind of what that brand is, how to strengthen that, how to lean on that. Again, I think there's a big piece of measuring the success of new hires. One thing I did not do enough of is figuring out my turnover rate. I was always scared because it was too high, right? And I think too many managers go, yeah, I don't want to know because it's too high, and we push for exit interviews and we get any, I think way too many people put way too much weight into exit interviews. I don't think you should know why people are leaving before you ever get to the exit interview. If you've got a caustic person, that's great in an exit interview. But other than that, you're going to get, I got more money. I didn't like it anymore. They made me work an extra hour on the side. You know, I mean, you're going to get bullshit, to be honest with you. You might, if you can get through and find one or two people that will sit down and give you an honest reply, I think exit interviews are great. Too often people use it as a grindstone to, well, I didn't like the way such and so, I didn't like the way Ashley talked to me the other night and made me change my white socks into black socks. Okay, move along. So anyway, but measuring the success of your hires is good, right? Trying to quantify it. We hired one club, Soulgrave Club. We put an ad out in the Georgetown University job board, whatever the hell it was, 20 years ago, because a bus from Georgetown stopped at DuPont Circle, right? And so they had free transportation back and forth. They were really good kids. All they wanted to do was make $200 a week and then go study. And so on a slow night, when I had my permanent full-time person who needed the hours, I could go to the college student and say, hey, why don't you cut out early? And they were happy. Good, I can go study or party or whatever, right? And then the full-time employee got their hours and I only needed one person. I didn't hurt anybody's feelings. And the only thing I asked in the interview, the only way I hired him was tell me what you know about private clubs. And it was Georgetown University. So you know what the response was from every single one of them was, oh yeah, my mom and dad were members of a club in fill in the blank city. And I'm like, oh, so you grew up at the club, you ate dinner there, you did all the events of the club? Yeah, absolutely. You're hired. Because that's it. I want you to know yes, ma'am, no, sir, and know what a club means. And I want you to go away on a slow night when I want you to go away. Right. So as you figure out what your advantage is and you figure out that model to the hiring, you can exploit, not exploit that, but you can leverage that. You're not doing anything to do anything wrong. So again, trying to figure out how to retain students or how to retain people and how to reduce turnover. And again, I think the industry has a lot of information out there and you should be working with the industry and or your peer groups because there's always somebody on the board or hire somebody on management. Well, how come we lose a server a week around here? Right. And that's what they think. And it must be, and who's hiring them? Gerardo. Okay. It must be Gerardo's fault. You're like, no, it has nothing to do. Right. Tariq says it's Gerardo's fault, but that's different.
No, the funny thing, like I had this experience before with the one girl. I hired her. She's like 22, 23 years old. And during the interview, I feel like she's gonna be the best.
Yeah.
Which we do the training first for make sure about teach her everything. After that, one day we were working very, very busy here in the grill, and somebody asked her to pick up the plate from her section, and she said, "It's my time is done. I have to go." And it was only 9 p.m. and her schedule at 10.
Yep.
So after that day, we sit with her in the office. We talk to her. You have to follow the rules. You have to do this, this, this. You did the training. You have to follow the training. You have to do. And she call out tomorrow. And I was thinking she's the best. She was like, I mean, when I did her interview, she was talking a lot. She said, I can do this, I can do that. So I'll be on time and this and that. And she has experience for different restaurants, but
yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? The only success I've ever had with it is explaining and kind of explaining, I'll just say to the board, certain members of the board, committees, right? Servers have become such a transient, it's a transient position. They're going somewhere. Very few of them are going to be a server permanently. They might be coming out of the city, making a ton of money, just got married and had a kid, don't want to close till midnight. They might be in school on their way to a job. They might be, who knows what it is, doesn't matter. But because they're transient, they're going to move, right? I think nobody seems to complain when the maintenance crew, right? When the local landscaping company goes up $1 in their pay and we lose all our landscaping people. And then we go up and match it and they all come back. And that's just normal business. But when it's a server who knows my drink and knows my name, now it's a travesty. Now there's something fundamentally rotten at the core of the club because we can't keep employees. No, it's not. Right? I mean, I think it's difficult. It's extreme. It takes a lot of education on our behalf to educate the people that ask those questions as to why it's happening. Because the assumption is pick anybody on the screen. Ashley's doing it wrong. Ashley's hiring wrong. That's why we're losing all our employees. And it's just not. It's just how we are. Look, we've all been part of this. We saw it coming out of COVID, right? Clubs were pretty solid. And then what happened when the resorts came online? Around here, Gaylord came back online, Salamander came online, and they gave everybody $1, $2 more an hour.
That's it.
And we said it. I said it to people. I said, look, they're going to do that to get open. And then they're going to run their season. And then when their season ends, guess what? You're terminated. So you're going to make $1 more an hour for 3 months, and then you're going to be out of a job. And a couple of the smart ones said, well, I'll just come back and work here. And we were like, well, we'll hire you. We shouldn't, but we will. Right. So again, part of that is just educating the candidate. Really? You're going to do all that and then throw this away? And it's also educating the member. Look, there's a lot of people in this country and in our clubs that $1 an hour means something. It might mean putting more food on the table. It might mean putting more gas in the car, and they really don't feel like they have a choice. They have to make that extra $1. And so, okay, right? But do we change how we do our business because Salamander came online or Marriott just opened a resort, right? So again, there's a lot of connections there. And I do think I think most employees, GM all the way down, understand that dynamic. I just don't think a lot of the members do. I think a lot of them, by definition, the ones who run the club are retired. And so they're not in the volatility of the market today, right? Or they are in a certain position with their company where they don't hire line level employees, right? They're hiring $250,000 CPAs that only come from Ivy League schools. Okay, well, that's not what we do, right? We're in a whole different situation here. So I think that's a big challenge. Let's go back.
Something that we're gonna do at Fairfax now is going to be hire less and pay more.
Yep, exactly.
Just
A
going
lot of
to
people are doing that.
Yeah, that's
A
gonna
lot
be
of people are
something that
doing
we're
that.
gonna go. I'll cut the workforce about 30-40%
Yep.
and just invest the payroll into the current ones and the I mean, it's not more qualified, but it's like that you can get more out of them.
Yep.
It's like you said, you got that one person that works one shift. Yeah, but that one shift is 4 shifts a month. How much is the payroll? What if something happens? So it just eliminate those, and I hire somebody who can work you 5, 6 shifts a week if needed. Still keep an eye on payroll, because I mean, overtime will, if you work at outside labor company, that will hurt you more than having a person having 4 or 5 hours overtime a week, maybe 10 hours a week, a paycheck. So it's just one of those things that we are going to go. It just we haven't had those candidates that we can say, okay, we're gonna pay them more
Yeah.
and hire less. So
Yeah.
we still on the same motto of, okay, 4 shifts a week, having, give me 2 weeks notice when you want to go on vacation, just how we've been doing it. Just because of the simple fact that we haven't had the opportunity to hire those better qualifiers, candidates, to do less hires, more money.
Yep. And I think technology will help that. I don't know how. Like, we're not going to have technology. We're not going to have robots sautéing scallops, and we're probably, I'll say, in my lifetime, we won't see robots serving food. We won't see robots taking food orders, But can a good server with a mobile ordering toast pad, iPad, whatever, tablet, can a good server cover 12 tables, 14 tables in a shift, right? Where before maybe they had six. And then maybe you specialize more of the, hey, I'm not that good yet. Okay, just pour water, just bring bread, right? Or be a food runner, or be a back waiter, or get a high chair, whatever it is, right? And I personally think, I haven't seen it yet. I've been speaking about it for years and nobody's buying into it, which is great. I think you're going to move to dynamic pricing. You're going to move to a dynamic schedule. And like you said, Michael, on those nights where it's guaranteed 18% and you've got 200 people on the books, okay, the hourly rate's going to be $10 an hour, right? Because every server wants it. But Sunday morning brunch, right, that might go to $15, $20 an hour because nobody wants it. And 18% of $22 on a buffet, well, probably more than that, a buffet, but you get my point.
Well,
Right?
that's something we had to do with the pickleball building because there is no food service up there. So to kind of subsidize it, we pay them a hourly rate. Just to keep it attractive to people actually wanting to work up there.
Yeah. And I think society shows us that from Uber to dynamic pricing on hotel rooms, rental cars, airline tickets, right? I mean, just everything. You want to go to Myrtle Beach Memorial Day weekend, you're going to pay far more than you want to go January 20th. And I think that can work in clubs, right? I think we can modify that. We can find the technology that will help us deliver that. And then you've got the servers now picking, I really don't want to work Friday night, but damn, that's going to be $200 in my pocket. I'm in, right? Or I don't really want to work Sunday brunch, but damn, $20 an hour flat rate for 6 hours worth of work, I can make some good money right there, right? And I think, again, if we can figure that out, whatever that algorithm is, again, it's beyond my mindset and intelligence and pay grade. But if we can figure that out, I think we can move the needle. Somebody's going to figure that out. I don't know who it's going to be. So let's talk about. Go ahead.
I would say back in the robots, I did have a robot make me a cocktail on a cruise ship last week, and it was absolutely awful.
Oh,
So that's a win for the real bartenders.
Yeah, yeah. We were just in Myrtle Beach anyway, long story. And we tried to find good food. Haha, that's a joke. And we found a great one in North Myrtle Beach, and it was a wine bar, no shocking, but it had the wall of wines that were all hooked up to the cryovac, right? So again, how long till that comes into the clubs? It's probably already there. But why can't I walk in with my wife and take my card over to that machine, swipe it, get myself a glass of this, her a glass of that, then we sit down and the server comes out and says, "What would you like to eat?" Right? And so I would do that. And then if I want another glass, I'd get up and go get another glass. Or if there was time, the server could say, "Hey, what was that? Oh, I'll get another one of those," or see it on my check, or whatever it was, whatever that is. So I do think that there is, again, we still continue to find restaurants that order by QR code. Right?
I gone to those that you order on you put your credit card and you start ordering, and there's a food runner that brings you the drinks.
It's just a food runner.
Yeah.
And there's one server working the whole dining room, and there's 2 or 3 food runners. And if you had a wall of wine, now again, that might not work in what's the formal dining room, Michael? 1961?
Yeah.
Yeah. But in the grill on a Friday night or Saturday night, your members would probably be happy. Yeah, exactly. It's hard to tell. Exactly.
Because on the grill side, all we'd have to do is put a tap of Sauvignon Blanc and we're good.
Right. Exactly. That's it. But
Yeah,
I think
that's the only wine we sell over there.
Yeah, it was Kendall Jackson Chardonnay. If I just run a hose of Kendall Jackson Chardonnay to the dining room, I could have run the whole place by myself. It was that and cheeseburgers, right? And that's it. That's where I think the clubs can leverage that and go, "Hey, why aren't we doing this?" And oh well,
The club culture.
100%, and who you are, right? Again, if you're doing a high-end wine dinner, or if you're I'm trying to think of some crazy high-end club, New York Athletic Club. What's McFadden's club? University Club? No, is it University Club? Pennsylvania, Philadelphia? Anyway, whatever. If you're known for food and you have an all-star chef and you have an all-star sommelier, you'll probably have at least 1 or 2 dining outlets that are very server focus, right? Very high hospitality. But think if you could cut 2 servers out of your highest volume dining space by adding wine cuvee and a QR code, right? And you're not going to go replace those 2 servers with somebody better. You just can't find those 2 servers, right? A lot of kitchens are doing this. Look, you may know this, you may not know this. It doesn't matter, Michael. It's a half a hypothetical. If you know it, jump in. If not, right? But the kitchen staff. Better question. Anybody here? Anybody's kitchen staff? You got more people this year than last year, or do you just continuously have less people in the kitchen? You have more people, Michael?
More
Mhm.
people.
More people? Hiram's more people? Okay, so I'm wrong. Yeah. I mean, a lot of times, and this was mainly coming out of COVID, every year you had less people. So it's not a matter of I can save payroll. You don't have the people to put in the kitchen. So it's giving better service with your existing level of payroll. Now, obviously, that ebbs and flows, right? There's times where it's easier and times when it's more. Oh my God, it's 10 till 3. All right. What else are you all thinking? I wanted to talk about lineup. I think lineup, we'll go here. I think lineup again. I think lineup should be structured. I think it should be organized. I think it should be planned out months in advance. I think there should be themes to it. I think it should be virtual. I think it should be recorded. I think it should be made available to people before lineup. I envision an industry where somebody is going through lineup on their phone on their way in on the metro or in a car, probably not driving, that's probably a bad thing, but anyway, right? And they walk in the floor, they walk in the building onto the floor, they know their tables, they know their section, they know the specials, they know the wine, right? They know what's 86th because it's all done ahead of time. And I think that's a huge area that can be improved. I know, Michael, that was a big piece of yours as far as trying to improve lineup, family meal, whatever you want to call it. It's probably more lineup. Family meal is kind of the eating part of it. But anybody have any thoughts on that?
There is something I do with my new hires that
Okay.
when I tell them, hey, I think you're gonna be a great fit, after that because I even tell them after I'm done interviewing them, presenting my piece, like at the club or whatever, I even tell them, don't tell me right now. Just go home and email me whether you want to be part of it or not. No harm feelings. And and I will let you know, but I want to hear after what you say if you want to be part of my team. If let's say everything move forward, I transfer it to my HR team to do the onboarding, and I email them, hey, you know what? I think you're gonna be a great fit to the team. I'm very excited if you want to be part of it as well. Here are the menus. What and my HR team is gonna reach out to you, and they're going to guide you through the process. In the meantime, I would recommend you to go over the menus if you want to. That way, it's easier for you to be on your first day orientation. And what I mean orientation, I sit down with team. I try to based on their starting dates because I'm very particular on that. I want them kind of to start kind of in the same week so I can put all of them together on the first day. It's kind of do icebreaker. Hey, I know who they are, but they don't know each other. And I don't even put them on the floor on the first day. I sit down with them. I give them a manual of the floor plan for the restaurant, for the patio, the menus. I give them like the do's and don'ts, like wine club percentage of what we do. And I personally sit down with them and I tell them, all right, I give them a little welcome package, which is like the 2, 3 shirts, name tag, notepad, pens, apron. And that kind of makes them feel welcome with their name, just okay, this is where we coming in. And I don't even tell them where to come, just they know my office. I let it because they're not even an employee yet. This is just me kind of orientation.
Yeah.
Tell them to go into the Eagle room. You know where it is, but I tell them to go into the Eagle room and we're gonna meet and we go over every single menu. I toured in the club, and that's when I tell them this is where you're gonna clock in, this is where you're gonna clock out, that's where you're gonna park. This is the bunker, this is the pool house, and I show them everything. Then I pull out a computer and I start going through basically this is where the apps, this is where the salads, this is soups. I mean, I spend literally about 6 hours with most of the team to go over every single thing. And then I let them, obviously we have a break and I let them be by themselves during the break time so they can talk, that not and they're very, very interactive. I role play, and I just basically tell them, hey, I don't expect you to know everything right now. I don't expect you to remember everything that we just talked, but I want you to have that in the back of your head. Oh yeah, I remember Gerardo told me where the ice machine was. Oh
Yep.
yeah, Gerardo told me where we could, and then I assign it with a staff member. I know they've done it before, and so that's basically what my role is when I try. And I can have my assistant do it, I can have my interns do it, but I feel more confident because then I can see who read the menus, you know, who went over the special, like little details like that, and that kind of helps out, in my opinion.
Good.
I
Yeah,
spend
that sounds like a
time.
solid onboarding program, right? Getting to know them and getting not letting anything slip through the cracks in the onboarding. I think onboarding is huge as well. I mean, I think that's a big piece. Too many people go, "Yeah, here's your shirt. See you tomorrow, 4 p.m." And like, where do I park? Where do I walk in? Right? And what happens? They walk in the same front door they walked in for the interview because nobody's told them that's not the way they walk into the club. So,
Yeah.
yeah. How about actual lineup? How about something right before service? Kind of, does anybody have a consistent training theme in their lineup? No. Does
I don't
anybody
know.
do?
Mine's not really themed, but I'll just kind of go over, service from, the past week and, are there things that, are we seeing stuff that we're having consistent struggles with? Is there something that we're doing good, but you think we could tweak it and do it even better? Is there something I'm missing? Is there something, you guys are missing? And just kind of ask for their input in it and kind of make it more about them instead of, always. Now, if there's something I need to say, I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
Uh, but give them the open floor to kind of, that's where they can kind of discuss, any issues that they're having or problems or, hey, we see we only have 2 or 3 order books left. Can we get a couple more?
Yep.
Usually it'd be, we don't have any order books. Why haven't you ordered more?
Usually it's we ran out of order books last Friday.
Yeah, and we're just telling you now.
And I figured I'd tell you now before the 4-day weekend for Memorial.
But as far as structure, I mean, I do keep it quite structured. We'll go over specials, what's 86, any upcoming events that are going on. And then we'll go over the reservations. If we don't do sections every night. We usually do rotation, except for on Wednesdays and Fridays when it's really busy, we'll do sections, then we'll go over sections. But just kind of going over, and timing of reservations doesn't really matter because everyone comes between
Right.
5:30 and 7 regardless.
Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of our lineup.
Okay.
I basically go over regular service, basic stuff, but like he said, like basically let them speak. Like sometimes they see things that I don't see, obviously because they're on the floor. But I remind them seat numbers, right member number, upsell if they want a gin and tonic, what kind of gin, real. I mean the basics. That's very genetic things. I don't spend a lot of time because they I mean they college students, right? They kind of like they serving a purpose per se, but I do let them know. It's like sometimes they be like, hey Gerardo, like last time we had this issue because of this and that. Like, okay, how we handle it. I give them a lot of opportunity to do those type of things because I frankly trust my team to make the decisions on that end. And obviously I have my assistant, I have the 2 interns. So, and I tell them, please let me know when things happen so I can be aware. Not necessarily because I'm gonna fix it, because I hope you know the right answer when the member tells you something. But I do what something like he does, just let them tell me, hey, Gerardo, I want to do this. Can I, what if we do this? That just make them feel more empowered to more that we paying attention to what they gotta say.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Do you anybody have any questions or on like a training program? Does everybody seem to be pretty comfortable with, do you have one? Does it work? Any questions in there that any of us can help anybody with?
No, I would add something.
Yeah.
So for we are doing the same like Gerardo said.
Hmm?
One more thing we do is just the training program. We give them the first day, we give them a training program for each position. we have it already. So we print it and give it to them to they can read it before start the training with the person. So also for the training, we do like for the server, the first week be as a food runner to see the garnishes, the food how it's coming. And also second week as a host to learn the table numbers, seat numbers. And after that, have a small test, a couple questions about the food and couple questions in the computer to make them to put the orders and everything.
Nice, nice.
For the
Good.
I already yesterday was good.
Good, 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 good. All right, we are coming up at 3 o'clock. So what else, any questions we didn't cover? Anybody want to cover anything that we didn't talk about? Good. Tariq. Oh no, he's on radio. That's fine. I'll throw this out here. You know, when you're interviewing people, please use open-ended questions, right? I did this when I was young. I'll pass it on. Hopefully none of y'all do this. It's great. I would say, hey, this is a great job because you can work 5 shifts a week and you can make $20 an hour and you can play golf on Mondays and you can, and we give employee meal. And then I'd say, so why do you want to work here? And they go, well, I want to work 5 days, 5 shifts a week. I want to make $20 an hour, right? And I go, perfect fit.
I want to play
Not
tennis.
at all what they wanted,
keyboard.
but they heard what I said first and just parroted back to me. And then I'm like, oh, I hired another brilliant person. So I learned after far too long of a time to go, tell me about yourself. Tell me what you're looking for. Tell me what you want. And then I turned the job into that. And if they said to Gerardo's comment earlier, listen, I want to work 1 day a week and I can only work Friday nights, but I have to leave early by 9 o'clock. Right? You're like, yeah, oh, you again. Right. Then I can come back. Right. Then you can come back and go, no, I'm sorry. This is a minimum 5 shifts. You got to work, to get a Friday night, you got to work either a Saturday lunch or a Sunday brunch, whatever your rules are, it doesn't matter. So I flipped it around and had them tell me about themselves first. And then I went back, why do you want the job? Because again, why is important? Hey, listen, I'm trying to make a bunch of money because I'm going to school in the fall. I just got engaged and I don't want to work till 2 in the morning because I've been working in the city and I live out in Fairfax or, whatever the reason is, it doesn't matter. But if it fits and they say it first without knowing what you're going to say, you got a better chance of having a better qualified employee. So again, hopefully you've all learned that. It took me a while to learn it. So sounds like you guys learned it faster, which is good. And then I always have multiple people interview, right? I love, don't just have it be you. Give it to a server, give it to a bartender, give it to a colleague, give it to another manager, give it to an assistant manager. And you may have to draw up if you're, Gerardo, you mentioned Zuzu, your assistant?
Yep.
Yeah, right? Now that person might be scared, right? So maybe you come up with a couple questions. Here's the 3 questions I want you to come ask. And here's what I'd like you to come back. Tell me if you think this person's capable of working on the terrace when it's hot. Just, simple so that they get some ideas as to what you're looking for. And then they're involved in the process. And look, weight their answers as much as you want to weight their answers. It can be, I value that person's opinion, or they always say yes. Okay, fine. I could be the final yes, no, but then you've got somebody else in the mix, and I think they feel a little happier. And then if you get into a jam, hey, listen, talk with Susu first, and then I'll come back and catch up with you after because I got to put this fire out. So it's a little bit of a way to save it. And then that person feels valued. Hey, wow, they really cared because Michael asked me to sit in on the interview, and that's really awesome. I really like this person. And look, again, they'll see stuff you don't see. That's all. And they'll answer questions. You can ask the same questions and get different answers and compare the answers. So again, I like having more than one person. Plus, then if it goes bad, you can blame it on Susan. Just kidding. That's a joke. All right, let's the next one, like we said at the beginning, I'll throw it up here again and see if it comes up and share. We leave the last two for the fun stuff, budgeting and costing, and then we get into finance. So we'll get into a little bit of numbers. I promise there's no math test. There's no math test. I put 2 months effort into this one because almost every single manager I speak to as they're coming up through clubs or through their management career, unless they have an accounting degree, they feel it's one of their weakest areas. And when I talk to them, There's no reason to be that weak about it. They're pretty strong with it. So I did this with an interview with a colleague, a good friend of mine that I knew, and he was really worried about it. And we went on the interview, and he had a sidebar with the treasurer that blew us away in the depth of his questions and knowledge about the numbers. And we got done, and I said, "Man, I thought you said that was an area that you were nervous about." He goes, "Oh yeah, I studied and read everything." He goes, "I put a bunch of it into AI, and it came up with questions to ask." So I'm not necessarily saying that, but what I'm saying is the majority of the people that I talk to that have a perceived lack in skills and strength in financials, when we dig into it, you really don't. It's more on the terms, right? And the problem is working with treasurers as you grow and you get into the boardroom with a treasurer, and they're the treasurer of a Fortune 100 company, the language is different. And once you start learning the words, it's relatively easy. So we'll spend a couple months on that. Again, it's not hard. It's not, we'll hit some of the basics next month, review, and then we'll go into some more of the financial reporting. So this should be live. Give me first week of July to go live, and then I'm going to add everybody to the calendar invite for that date, July 15th, 1:30 to 3. So it'll be on your calendar a little earlier so it doesn't sneak up on you. But I'll try and get that out tomorrow at the latest. So thank you all again. Any other questions? Any other comments? Anybody got anything fun they want to leave us with?
The only thing I have, Brian, when I took the test for this last one, there was only one question. Was that supposed to be more?
So yes, if to provide too much information, my father's been very sick.
Okay.
And so I've struggled to get it. And I love Ashley, and Ashley's great because at the last minute I'll go, hold on a second.